Welcome here to more TALKFCB and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, for plenty of Barca news coming your way. Lots of transfer stuff as well, as we are going to be discussing Barca's interest in Jules Kounde from Sevilla. Is there any way that we could get a deal done for the centre-back? We're also going to be talking about Laporta's words on Mbappe's wages. And I've got an important discussion here on Laporta's stance and what we can make of that, along with as well Brazilian wonder kid Enrick, and whether he could be on his way to the Camp Nou in the very near future. It is all coming your way. So let's get to it. Because if we do indeed start with one of the best centre-backs in La Liga right now, Jules Kounde from Sevilla is absolutely no stranger to Barcelona, not least because he threw a ball in Jordi Alba's face earlier in the season, but also because he has been very heavily linked to us on many occasions. And as you can see right here, just this morning, he appeared on the cover of Mundo Deportivo, very clear headline, Objective Kounde. Because it is absolutely no secret at all that Xavi is a big admirer of Jules Kounde. I think actually if he had the opportunity this summer to choose his favoured defender, if he didn't have, a budget or any restrictions, I think the one that he would definitely choose would be Kounde. Big choice of Xavi's. But the problem, of course, is Sevilla and the price tag that they have placed on his shoulders. Because they believe right now that they can command a transfer fee of 70 to 80 million euros for Kounde this summer. And they believe there's clubs out there who would indeed pay that kind of figure. Chelsea were very heavily linked last summer. They're expected again to be close this summer once their ownership issues have been resolved. And let's be real here, there is no way at all that this summer Barca could pay 70 or 80 million for any player. There is, of course, the possibility that this summer Barca could get creative when it comes to targeting Kounde, whether there would be a possibility to enter players into the operation, to exchange them there in order to get that transfer fee down. And there are two players that do come to mind right now. Number one would definitely be Clement Longley. Barca reportedly very much open to offers for him this summer. They would be happy to see him leave the club. And of course, there has been rumoured interest from Sevilla in him. They know him very well. He played there for a season just before, of course, we signed him. And if they were to get Longley in exchange for Kounde, then that would technically be a ready-made replacement. However, the problem again would probably be, well, how much actually would Longley bring that fee down? Would it be anything really significant? And I think on his own, probably still there, that's not going to be enough. We still couldn't afford to pay whatever it would take plus Longley to get Kounde. So the other man that is being linked right now is Serginho Dest, whether he could be included in the deal too. Monchi, apparently the sporting director at Sevilla, huge fan of Dest. They would be more than happy to take him on, of course. The question then would be as well, how much money would we still need to add to make this deal happen? And I think right now, we just got to wait and see how this summer goes, because I do think Sevilla will feel as though it has to be this summer that they sell him. He's got a contract there until 2024, so probably to get the big money, it's got to happen now. And let's just see if they get that big offer, because as the time goes on, let's see if they start to get a bit nervous, if they really feel as though they want to cash in. And as the summer goes on, let's just see whether their stance changes at all, whether they would be open to receiving players in exchange, and whether Barca could pull off this unlikely deal. Although if we could, what a pairing that would be of Araujo and Kounde. But indeed, guys, another really important discussion that I do want to have with all of you is regarding Joan Laporta, and indeed his stance this summer when it's come to big signings, big wages, and exactly what he is open to doing and has been over these past few weeks. Because obviously there was a lot of criticism, I feel, of Laporta once it was confirmed that Erling Haaland would be joining Man City this summer. Many fans of Barca felt let down by Laporta. Some felt very deceived in the way the whole saga had been dragged out. And I do have to say that the one thing about Laporta is he is a very positive person. He is, of course, he feels here, he's the leader of the club, he is the face of the club now, he's got to make the big calls, he's got to make the big decisions, and he is somebody, after I think so many difficult years that Barca have had, he does try to give the fans optimism. He does try to give us hope, put some spark and excitement into things again, but I do admit, a lot of the time, he can go over the top, and that will always work against you. That will certainly come back to hurt you if things don't turn out to be good. Because indeed, he never promised to sign Erling Haaland. He never told us certainly that he'd be here next season, that we would definitely sign him, but he did imply that we would be in the race. He did meet many times with Mino Raiola. There were smiles here, there was winks there was a willingness maybe that we could indeed be in the race to get Haaland. But we never were. And I think ultimately when that happens, Laporta then has to say, you know what, maybe that wasn't the right decision. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I shouldn't have implied that. Because in the end, it was never realistic that we could pay the kind of money that it would take to get Haaland. But here's the thing, guys, because I think you can criticise Laporta for that, and you can say, you know, you shouldn't have said that. That wasn't the right way to go about things. But I think what we also have to say as fans is, in the end, the right decisions, they are being made. Because when Laporta was reportedly telling Xavi that he wasn't going to be able to sign Erling Haaland, that we couldn't make the figures work, that the financial terms for the deal were simply astronomical, Laporta apparently said to Xavi, if I had paid the commissions that were demanded for Erling Haaland, I would have quit the very next day. That is how strong he felt about it. And just yesterday, he spoke there about Mbappe. He said, you can't go past a certain spending level at this club. He said, we've seen the club do that over the past few years. We've seen where we ended up. He said, we cannot do that again. Mbappe this summer was asking for 50 million euros in salary. Net 50 million. He said, you've got to keep that in mind. You've got to be conscious as a club. And he said, when you speak of salaries, when you talk about 25, 30, 40 million net, he said, we're not going to do that. He said, we will not do that. We're not going to, and nor do we want to as a club. And I agree with that. I could understand frustration that, you know, we didn't go and get Haaland, that we're not getting Mbappe and rivaling Real Madrid for his signature. But at the same time, guys, I just don't feel comfortable anymore paying one player that kind of money. 50 million euros a year in wages alone, I just think that's too high. That is too much. Maybe for the clubs that can just pump money in, who have an unlimited supply of it, but given what we've gone through these past years, given the struggles that we have had as a club, we're trying to generate our own revenue, our own money, and we have to be financially secure. So I think Laporta, yes, there can be frustration there about some of the things that he says sometimes, and I understand that. But I think at the end of it all, you have to hold your hands up and say, in the best interests of the club, we can't pay that money. Not to Haaland, not to Mbappe. And that is why we are now looking at other options. Which is very interesting, guys, because now we do come on to Endrick, who, if you haven't heard of him before, he is a 15-year-old forward right now, currently playing his football in Brazil, and he exploded onto the scene there in Brazilian football, playing for Palmeiras. He is somebody right now who is incredibly highly rated right across the footballing world, with pretty much all of the top clubs tracking his progress and his potential with a view to signing him in the future. Now, only recently did Endrick actually sign his very first professional contract at Palmeiras. He signed there until 2025, but crucially, inserted into that new contract was a nice shiny release clause, and that release clause stands at 60 million euros for this youngster. Now that is big money, but this is definitely a big talent indeed. And the big story tonight is that Sport have broken the news, and in particular the journalist that broke this news, he's very reliable, especially when it comes to Brazilian players. This is something to pay attention to, because he says that Barça are going to start negotiations with Palmeiras about Endrick very soon indeed. They have the idea in their mind that Endrick could join Barça in 2024. He would turn 18 years old that summer, and they would like to start the movements to bring this young man to the Camp Nou. Now, like I say, guys, this is certainly very early days. There are going to be so many other clubs also trying the same thing. Real Madrid, in particular, big admirers of him. And just look what they've done recently. They went big. They went all in very early on in the careers of Vinicius Jr. And exactly the same there when it comes to Rodrigo. And of course, that was all in response to Barça originally getting Neymar over and signing for the club. So this is another big Brazilian youngster, another incredibly talented player with a lot of potential. Of course, we don't know what he will go on to achieve. We have to wait and see what his progress and development is like over these next few months, and indeed years. But this is one, certainly right now, to keep an eye on. Barça are watching him very closely, and let's wait and see what young Endrick can can do. So please guys, do leave your thoughts in the comments down below on everything we have discussed in today's video, from our interest there in Jules Kounde from Joan Laporta's stance on the big wages that are happening in football right now, and also your thoughts if you have got a glimpse of this exciting young Brazilian forward. Let me know that down below. I will of course see you soon, of course, with plenty more videos on the way. Thanks for watching guys, and for all of your support. But until next time, as always, Visca El Barça.